Hey guys, this is Mrs. Harbin, and we are finishing up Unit 6 on polynomial functions by graphing polynomial functions. The whole reason we have been learning everything that we've been learning about polynomial functions is so that we can then graph these polynomial functions, and we can apply that to data by getting the information we need and graphing polynomial functions. This models data for us. It can help us to make predictions. It can help us to explain patterns and phenomenons in the natural world. So the reason that we've been finding zeros and factoring and learning all of these things is so that we can apply that to interpret real world data. And what better way to do that than with a graph? Our biblical integration for this unit continues to be God provided 4 different gospel accounts in His holy word that provide us different insights to the same story. Graphing equations, like polynomial functions, helps us to see written information from a different perspective. Now, I could give you a big chart of information. In fact, if you go to the beginning of your Unit 6 here in your book, or really any of the units all throughout your book, you'll see that you're given information or given some data at the beginning of each unit. And a lot of times that is just presented in a chart form, which you can look at and maybe make some predictions, but graphing that really helps us to see this information in a very visual way, and it allows us to see things just in a different perspective, much like the 4 gospel writers gave us different perspectives on the life of Christ. Our lesson objective for today is that you, the student, will graph polynomial functions using the in behavior, zeros, y-intercepts, and other points. You'll see that there are 4 important pieces of information that we will need in order to graph these polynomial functions by hand. We are going to be graphing them by hand. Let's do a quick warm-up here and evaluate p of 2 equals x to the 4th minus x cubed minus 26x squared plus 31x minus 5. You should know that you can evaluate this one of 2 ways. You can plug and chug, or you can use synthetic division. And I am going to, just for the sake of time here, do some synthetic division. So 1, -1, -26, +1, and -5. And we are going to divide all of that by 2. I'm going to try and do it neatly here. I don't always write neatly on the slides. So we bring down our 1, and then we multiply and add. 2 times 1 is 2, and we add. 2 and -1 is 1. 2 times 1 is 2, and then we add. Get -24 here. 2 times -24 is -48. Excuse me. -48, and then we add, and -17, and 2 times -17 is -34, and then we add, and we get -39. Okay, we can also I just did it synthetically. Remember that you can also plug and chug. Try to use synthetic division on your own to divide this one, and then pause the video and check your work. Now check your work. Remember that we would put in the box here the 1, and then we would list our different coefficients. 31 and -5. Okay, and when we divide, we get our reduced polynomial here is x cubed minus 26x plus 5. Okay, you can try that one. I didn't mean to show you the answer right away, but there's another one you can do synthetically or with long division. Just practice those skills, keep them fresh as we move forward. Remember that we do use division to help us find the factors of our polynomial, and that's going to be really important when we are graphing these polynomials. Just as a quick reminder, back to the fundamental theorem of algebra, the maximum number of real zeros for a function is equal to its degree. The degree is represented with n. So if it was x cubed, the maximum number of real zeros is 3. If it was as I was saying, if it's x to the 5th, it's to the 5th degree. If it's x to the 4th, then we have a maximum number of 4 real zeros. So that information is very helpful to us. Let's take a look at some parent functions here. I believe I've already given you the chart of parent functions. If not, or if you need another copy because you've lost yours and it's no longer in the handout section of your binder, then let me know and we can get you another copy. But here are some parent functions. You should already be familiar with the shape of a constant function. You know, if this is, for example, y equals 2, that would be our constant function. Remember that x equals 2, that is not a function if we were to graph that because it does not pass the vertical line test there. So x equals 2 is not a function. Our constant function is only y. Y equals, or p of x equals 2 in this case. Linear functions have a slant to them, whether it's an upward slope, a positive slope. Positive slope goes up and a negative slope goes down. You guys know that Mr. Slope face that we have on the wall. A constant function has a 0 slope. And x equals 2, that's undefined. It doesn't have a slope at all. So let's go ahead and just finish our drawing of Mr. Slope face here. There he is. All right, so linear function, that's our first degree x to the first power here. And that looks like this. A quadratic function has a degree of 2, and it is this lovely shape that we call a parabola. A cubic function has a degree of 3, and it looks like this. That's our parent function. A quartic function, which has a degree of 4, has kind of this W shape, or a double parabola. That makes sense. If x squared here is a single parabola, x to the 4th is a double parabola. And a quartic function, which is x to the 5th power, has this shape. Now you'll notice that for each of our degrees, we've got that many zeros, that many points where it crosses our x-axis. 1, 2, 3, 4 for our 4th degree, our quartic polynomial. 2, 3, 4, 5 zeros for our quintic polynomial. So these are some parent functions that you do need to be familiar with. A function's end behavior is another important piece of information when we are graphing a function. So we've already talked about zeros all throughout this unit. So zeros of a polynomial function are one of the key characteristics, but the end behavior describes its values on the left and its values on the right as it approaches infinity. And this is another key characteristic. Now there is a chart of this in my room, and you will need to learn these characteristics. Okay, but what you see here is we have our even degree functions. So x squared, x to the 4th, x to the 6th, etc. And our odd degree functions. So x cubed, x to the 5th, or even just our linear function, x to the 1st power. We can then sort those even and odd degree functions into positive and negative. So the leading coefficient is positive, then both of our tails will go up. Even degrees, the tails go in the same direction. So both of our tails go up. If you think about Mr. Slope face, a positive slope, and the line is going up. So a positive coefficient with an even degree, both tails go up. If we have a negative coefficient, like we do here, -1, our tails are still going in the same direction because it's even, but both of the tails go down. So if this was a negative x squared function, then both tails of our parabola would go down. When looking at odd degrees, the tails will always go in different directions. That kind of makes sense logically. If odd always comes, or if even comes in pairs, so the two tails go together, odd doesn't come in pairs, so the two tails will go different directions. If you have a leading coefficient that's positive, then your slope will be generally positive. So you can see that this slope is starting low, but it's going high. It's going up. And if you have a negative leading coefficient, then your tails will start high and go down low. Start up and go down. That's kind of the same as a negative slope in a linear function. So if you can relate these to linear functions on the up and on the down, it will help you remember which direction our tails go here. So positive, even degree, both up, negative even degree, both down. Positive odd degree starts down and goes up, and negative odd degree starts up and goes down. All right, so that end behavior is important in graphing our function. Just as a quick reminder, I've already said it, but here it is again. The two end behaviors of an even degree polynomial are the same. So they're either both up or both down if it's an even degree. And the two end behaviors of an odd degree are different. One's up and one goes down, and that depends on that leading coefficient. Polynomial functions of odd degree must have at least one real zero. They're going to cross that x-axis at least once. An even degree doesn't have to have a real zero. It may not cross the x-axis. If you go back and look at that x squared function here, It didn't have a real 0. It didn't cross the x-axis. But odd degree functions will have at least one real 0. All right, let's take a look at this example. Given p of x equals x cubed minus 2x squared minus 5x plus 6, let's state the function's end behavior. Well, we see it's an odd function, and it has a positive leading coefficient. So that tells me that my left tail is going to be down, and my right tail is going to be up. It's odd, so the tails will go in different directions, and it's positive, so it's got a general upward slope there, from lower to higher, from down to up. Okay, let's describe the number of complex and real zeros. Well, we know that it has at least 3 roots here. So it has 3 complex roots, and we know that one of them must be real. One of them has to actually cross the x-axis here. The other 2 could be imaginary, or they may be real, but we know it has to have at least one real root. When graphing p of x, finding the graph's zeros can be helpful. Remember, those are the places where it crosses the x-axis. Don't forget that the constant term in a polynomial is the y-intercept. If you think back to your y equals mx plus b, that constant term down here at the end, that was your y-intercept. It's the same in polynomials. We also want to make sure that when we're graphing, we illustrate the function's end behavior. So when we're graphing, here's what we're going to do. First thing we're going to do is find and graph the x and y-intercepts. The y-intercept is just your constant term. So that's your y-intercept. Your x-intercepts are your roots or your zeros that you get from factoring. So that's the first thing that we want to do, is find and graph the x and y-intercepts. So we are going to use our rational root theorem to test out our possible rational roots, c over d. So that's plus or minus 1, plus or minus 2, plus or minus 3, plus or minus 6, all over, running out of room here, all over 1, because our leading coefficient is just a 1. So let's try dividing by 1. In using synthetic division, we find out that 1 is, in fact, a root. We now have our depressed polynomial here. So we have x squared minus x plus 6. We can then use factoring to go ahead and factor this into x minus 3 and x plus 2. So we have our 3 roots there for our x cubed term. Using the zero product property, we'll set each of those equal to 0, and we find out that our roots, or our zeros, are at x equals 1, x equals 3, and x equals negative 2. Our y-intercept, we already stated, was 0, 6. And we then would want to find more ordered pairs, and we would want to find ordered pairs that come between our x-intercepts. So if our x-intercepts were at, let's go back, negative 2, 1, and 3, we might want to plug in negative 1 and see what our coordinate is, or plug in 0, well, we already know 0, 6, or plug in 2 and see what our points are there. So we're going to plug in numbers between our roots, between our x-intercepts, and we graph the function with a smooth curve. So let's take a look. So here are the points we know. We know our y-intercept, and we knew these 3 zeros, these 3 places where it crossed the x-axis. We knew that it was going to have 2 tails going 2 different directions because it's an odd function. And we also know, because the leading coefficient is positive, that it was going to be 1 tail down and the right tail up. It was going to have a generally positive looking slope here. We then plugged in some other numbers. So between negative 2 and between 1, we decided to plug in a negative 1, and we got an 8 there. In between 1 and 3, when we plug in a 2, we get 2, negative 4. So that gives us enough points that we can graph that function with a smooth curve. A couple of vocabulary terms here that we're going to start using and I'm going to introduce to you. This point right here, this kind of low point on the curve, we call that a relative minimum. Okay, this higher point at the top of that curve is called a relative maximum. We can also call these extrema or turning points. Primarily, we will use relative minimum or relative maximum. Knowing the basic shapes of different polynomial functions, like those parent functions, can help you choose a model that best describes your data. Right, today we graphed polynomial functions using end behavior to help us know what the tails look like, zeros, those are your factors, y-intercepts, that's just your constant term, and other points. We found those 4 things to graph or sketch some polynomial functions. If you have questions, be sure to write those down and ask me next class.